Lewis Hamilton will receive his first taste of Ferrari Formula One machinery next week, following his move from Mercedes for the F1 2025 season. The seven-time world champion will take to the team's Fiorano test track behind the wheel of the F1-75, the team's race-winning car from 2022. The F1-75 was Ferrari's first attempt under F1's new ground effect regulations introduced at the beginning of the 2022 season, with its name a nod to the 75th anniversary of the first Ferrari production car. The car, defined by its unique bathtub-shaped side pods and piloted by Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, marked a welcome return to form for the Scuderia after a disappointing couple of seasons in 2020-21. The F1-75 was among the cars to suffer most heavily from the porpoising phenomenon generated by the ground effect cars, with Hamilton himself complaining of a similar sensation at Mercedes throughout 2022. The car delivered Ferrari's first victory in 2.5 years, at the first time of asking at the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix, as Leclerc converted pole position into a fine victory. Sainz crossed the line to seal a 1-2 finish after the Red Bulls of Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez both retired in the closing laps in Sahir. Running a smaller turbo than their competitors, the Ferrari's traction out of slow corners packed a punch in 2022 as Red Bull struggled with an overweight car. After finishing a close second to Verstappen at the second race in Saudi Arabia, Leclerc again dominated from pole position in Australia to open up a lead of 46 points over Verstappen, who suffered his second DNF in 3 races in Melbourne. It was after Australia that the season started to turn, however, Leclerc dropping to 6th after a late spin in the wet at the next race at Imola. Worse was to come 2 races later in Spain, where he retired while comfortably in the lead with an engine problem. Meanwhile, Sainz was in the midst of what would prove to be the worst run of his Ferrari career, retiring early in Australia and crashing out of qualifying in Emilia-Romagna before another off-track excursion during his home race in Spain. Just 3 races after trailing Leclerc by a margin worth almost 2 race wins, Verstappen was back on top of the drivers' standings after inheriting the victory in Barcelona. Famously, he has remained at the top of the World Championship ever since, never losing the lead of the standings since May 2022. Leclerc looked on course for some much-needed respite in Monaco, where he led the early laps comfortably in treacherous conditions. However, his race turned upside down with a chaotic pit stop by the Ferrari crew, the first of many in 2022, as he slipped to a disappointing 4th at the checkered flag, losing yet further ground to Verstappen. More disappointment came at the next race in Baku, where he once again retired from a promising position with an engine failure. That proved to be a turning point for Ferrari, who competed for the rest of the season with the engine turned down to prevent further reliability disasters. It did not stop Sainz from collecting his maiden F1 victory in the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. The 2025 Williams driver was reunited with the F1-75 for a special farewell test alongside his father at Fiorano in December 2024, with Leclerc collecting another win a week later in Austria, as the Red Bull's pace mysteriously deserted Verstappen. What do you think about Lewis Hamilton's first Ferrari F1-75 drive? Like and comments below.